This is NextGenWeb.org continuing its coverage from the NCSL annual meeting in Boston, and we're fortunate today to be joined by Thomas Dorr, who's the Undersecretary for Rural Development at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And Mr. Undersecretary, we appreciate your time today.
I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we just wrapped up a panel discussion where you offered some comments on rural access and getting broadband to rural communities, and you talked about some of the initiatives that the department is trying to get accomplished through the Farm Bill, which I believe is still currently before Congress. And was wondering, you mentioned 3 goals, and was wondering if you might be able to elaborate on those a bit.
Sure. What we're trying to do is to simplify the administrative process for people who are interested in applying for loans. We want to do a better job of targeting these to particularly underserved and unserved areas. That is a particular concern of the Congress. And then also to create or enhance the quality of the incentives that we utilize in the context of facilitating the build-out of these capacities in rural America.
Great. And what are some things that government should or shouldn't do to continue to encourage investment in these rural communities where broadband is, where they are underserved?
Well, it's a complex issue, as you note from the conversation we had here this morning in this particular session. The difficulty that we have, unlike when we wired or ran the telephone lines in rural America particularly, is the fact that we have competitors out here. Everybody, by and large, has telephone service, and someone is a provider in one form or another. We are now getting into quality issues in terms of the speed, the robustness of the broadband, and in the context of how you go about enhancing that for rural Americans, you now start impeding on private sector issues. In my view, what we have to look at is how we bifurcate, for example, the infrastructure from the service-providing issues. And if we can do that, and do that in a sensitive way, and yet do it in a manner that enhances or stimulates or incents the private sector to get more aggressive, I think we will have served our constituents well. But as you can see, the growth of this technology, the growth of broadband capacity has expanded greatly over the last 4 or 5 years. So I would like to point out that in light of everything, we've made a fair amount of progress. But the farther you go, or as Mr. Atkinson on the panel said, the deeper you penetrate, the more that it costs and the more complications you run into. And we're obviously trying to sort through all of that.
And do you think, as programs like telemedicine and distance learning and the environmental benefits associated with telecommuting, as rural communities become more educated about these programs, do you think demand will grow, and will that help the supply side issues we talked about today?
Oh, certainly. I think, quite honestly, most rural Americans are already educated to the potential opportunities and benefits of this. I think it is, as you point out, as we better utilize and define the technology for health care, for education, for public safety, for environmental monitoring, and a number of other issues, we're going to find out that people are very innovative in rural areas. They will, in fact, be able to, in my view, live locally and compete globally. This technology will make that possible, and it will hasten the deployment. I don't think there's any question about that.
Okay. Well, Mr. Undersecretary, we appreciate your leadership on the issue, and we appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, and I'm delighted to be able to be here with you.
Thank you. This is NextGenWeb.org continuing its coverage from the NCSL annual meeting in Boston.